Hello and welcome back to Grant's Comics. Today we're going to be ranking all of our currently announced DC Studios projects by hype level. There's a ton of projects that have been announced so far, but we're going to mainly focus on the DCU set one, so no Adventures of Green Lantern or Starfire cartoon. But I did want to throw in Dynamic Duo and The Batman Part 2 because it's my list and I am excited for those movies. Spoiler alert. Alright, well, remember to like and subscribe, and let's just go right into this with Creature Commandos. Of course, this is a hype level list, and Creature Commandos has already come out at this point. I really enjoyed Creature Commandos. I think it set up a lot of things that's going to be really exciting for the DCU. There's the Metal Men. That was like a weird flashback thing. I have no clue where that's going to go, but it's exciting that he's adding a lot of backstory, and seeing World War II, seeing a lot of flashbacks with G.I. Robot was cool. I like where a lot of the characters end up, too, by the end of the season. I think it was pretty shocking which characters died. I did not expect certain ones. If you haven't watched it, I won't spoil it, but a lot of the characters die in this show. And yeah, I'm just going to put it in... For now, we're just going to put it in B tier. I think it was solid, and it has a lot of room to grow. And I'll just bounce forward to Season 2 of Creature Commandos. I'll also put in about B tier. I think it has a lot of potential, but I don't know, I don't know much about it yet. I think there's a lot of cool things that could happen, but I think we're a little far out. Excited to see what new members, too, that'll be added to the team. All right, next up, massive release coming up here in a little over a week and a half is Superman. I mean, I think anyone that's excited for the DCU would agree this is an S tier. This is the future. If this movie crashes and burns, I mean, the majority of this stuff is not even going to happen. So I think kind of everyone's hopes are lying into this movie not only being good, but reviewing well and doing well at the box office. But I'm also just really excited that we're getting another standalone Superman movie. I think it's been so long now. I mean, even if you count BVS, it's been almost 10 years. So it's been due time. And I like Man of Steel a lot, but I think it's definitely going to be cool to see a different, fresh take on Superman. Everything in all of the trailers have looked really, really good. I'm someone who doesn't think that the heroes being in the movie is going to overcrowd it. I mean, it's just, if these characters weren't wearing costumes, people wouldn't be over-exaggerating how big of a deal they're in it. Like, if Guy Gardner wasn't a superhero, but he just had the same exact role in the movie, I think people are just over-exaggerating how much this is going to bog down the movie. I mean, the purpose of it not only is to set up a new universe, but I think he is focusing in on just making a good Superman movie. And if these characters are part of that, I don't see any reason to just cut them out because, it's just universe setup. I think it's going to be a lot more important than that. Ultimately, I think James Gunn has a hard job to do, but everything I've seen looks really good so far. All right, next is Peacemaker Season 2. I really, really liked Peacemaker Season 1. I think it was a really good follow-up to Suicide Squad 2021. I really enjoyed just the depth of character, because Peacemaker, I really liked him in Suicide Squad, but the level of backstory and understanding into his character, and especially after his kind of villainous turn at the end of Suicide Squad, it gave a new perspective. I was originally of the opinion they maybe should have just left the Peacemaker show in the original universe, because obviously it connects back to the DCEU with the Justice League showing up at the end of season 1. And James Gunn has already said that this season is going to address that. And of course it will, and I'm sure it will. I'm just a little worried. Anything like that, I feel like could scare away a lot of just normal audience members that aren't in tune with all this rebooting and stuff. So that worries me a little bit about the season. But besides that, it's going to be great. It goes in A tier. There's so much potential with it. We've already seen we're going to have some Superman characters cross over into it. We have Argus getting set up with Rick Flag and a few other characters. And of course, everyone's going to be excited to see what that new intro entails, right? Okay, next is Lanterns. I have kind of a love-hate relationship with this. I am, of course, excited to see Green Lantern in any form again on the screen in live action after the Ryan Reynolds movie. But I do kind of wish it was more of a big-budget movie. I am extremely worried how they're going to straddle the line here of gritty and realistic detective drama, because that's all they've been saying. They say it's like True Detective, it's like whatever. And that kind of worries me when I feel like the entire appeal of Green Lantern is its whole spacefaring nature and grounding him. I think it's maybe a mistake, but I haven't seen the show or read any of the scripts or done anything like that, so how would I know if it's good or not? It could still be really, really good. We obviously have Sinestro cast in it, so there's going to be some space stuff, I'm sure, and Jon Stewart getting his ring and all of that. I think the casting has been fantastic so far. I definitely think it's cool to have like an older Hal Jordan that kind of shows what they're doing with a lot of these other heroes in there. I assume like Barry Allen will be that kind of generation of an older hero. I think Superman's going to be more of an outlier, being a younger hero like that. Yeah, I think it completely depends on the scripts. We have a great showrunner. We have great writers. Tom King, I know, is hit or miss for some people, but I really liked his Supergirl comic, which we'll get to next. And I think he's done some good work. Of course, there's other stuff like his Batman run, maybe not as good, but ultimately, I'm going to put this in high B tier. Definitely above Creature Commandos, but it's probably the one here that's the most definite of, like, I need to see a trailer first here to see kind of the proof of concept. All right, next up is Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. I believe they have renamed it to just Supergirl now, similar to Superman and Superman Legacy. This one is going to be a phenomenal movie. It goes to top of A tier. The original comic's great, the art's great, the writing's great, everything is really good in it. It's kind of like the definitive Supergirl comic now. I was really, really excited when he announced that they were going to do like a direct adaptation, because you do not see that at all anymore. Of course, a lot of movies pick and choose different like sections. I mean, like something like Captain America Civil War would take a lot from Civil War, but it's still very, very different. I have a feeling this Woman of Tomorrow movie is going to be very, very close to the comic. Probably some of the closest we've ever seen in a live-action comic book movie, besides, like, Watchmen, which basically just uses the original comic as a storyboard. But, of course, we're going to see Jason Momoa as Lobo, too, which is going to be fantastic. I think he'll do great in that role. I'm always thought he would fit in, like, a Lobo role more than Aquaman. And I did like him as Aquaman, but you could kind of always tell he wanted to let loose even more. So this is going to finally allow him to do that. I think the director has done some good work, but I think this could definitely be his breakout in terms of just getting to just do these awesome, massive scale space stuff, and with tons of CGI. I mean, it's going to be a spectacle for sure. It's interesting that this is going to be the second movie we get after Superman, so we're immediately going to go from Superman to Supergirl next summer, which is cool. I think if Superman's a huge success, that's going to do really, really well, because you'll just feed right into it next summer, and a lot of people will be really excited to go see her in that movie. Of course, a lot of people are fans of Supergirl already from the CW show, so that'll also feed into it. Yeah, it's just really cool we're getting a straight adaptation. All right, next, we're getting into some rumored stuff here, but we kind of know there's a script. A rumored Bane and Deathstroke movie. This sounds interesting to me, but also I don't believe it's fully, like, just a Bane and Deathstroke movie. Like, I think it's probably like a Secret Six or like some kind of villain team that's not Suicide Squad, or just a few other stuff. Maybe this could even be integrated with other Batman things. But if I just take it at face value, like a Bane Deathstroke movie, I think it's pretty cool, actually. There's not a ton to like go on, because Bane and Deathstroke are not exactly a like known duo or anything in the comics, but there's definitely a lot of potential there. I just have to see kind of more what they're planning for it. So I think I'm going to put this at the end of B tier. Of course, it's still rumored and stuff, but anything with Deathstroke and Bane. I mean, people really want a more comic accurate Bane. I like Tom Hardy as Bane, but that Bane is not even the tiniest bit comic accurate. So getting a really cool comic accurate Bane, getting another Deathstroke. We've had great Deathstrokes in live action. So continuing that train rolling would be great. And yeah, next up is Clayface. This one is going to be good. This was totally out of left field. I don't think in a million years I would have guessed them doing a solo Clayface movie, unless this was, of course, Sony Pictures making it. Maybe then they would have. But besides that, Clayface was written by Mike Flanagan, who, of course, is massive in horror right now. And I really don't think this movie would have gone in production if that script wasn't really good, because I mean, from James Gunn's perspective, there's no reason to be doing a Clayface movie. So even if a script was pretty good, you kind of would just be like, we don't really need to do this right now. But they fast-tracked this, and they already have their director. They just cast their lead actor. This is going to be really, really cool, and it's going to be our third movie. Of course, everyone's been speculating, are we going to see Batman in it? I think there's a possibility. I think it more matters how fast Brave and the Bold can get launched into production here, because Brave and the Bold seems to have been in kind of a production hell. So the entire future of the Batman in the DCU just seems very complicated at this point. But of course, it's a Batman villain movie, so you could see him popping up for a minute or two here, kind of just establish him really, really quickly. I think this movie's going to be a little more serious than people expect. We've heard rumors about it dealing with like AI and deepfake stuff in the acting world, which I think could be really, really cool. Obviously, the main iteration everyone knows of Clayface was like an actor, so anything with that could, I think, be really, really cool and has a ton of potential. This, I think, is going to go bottom of A tier. I just think it's going to be that kind of sleeper hit, cheap movie that they make where it's just, I think a lot of people are going to be talking about it. Okay, next up is the Blue Beetle animated show. We've been hearing about this for a while. Obviously, we had the Blue Beetle movie, which I thought was pretty good. It was very solid, but I always was wondering, how are we going to integrate him now? Because it kind of sucked. It was like the last movie of the DCEU, so this guy got cast, and then he's just kind of gone. But luckily, James Gunn said, no, we're going to bring him over as Blue Beetle still. I think it'd be really cool to have, like, Ted Kord in this show, too. Kind of have both of the Blue Beetles doing stuff. And there's a ton of potential, I think, if you... this one specifically for an animated show, lean into the anime kind of shonen aesthetic more, and I think you kind of have a winning formula. There's a lot you could do, especially adapting the original runs for Blue Beetle that came out in like 2006 when he was introduced. Would be great. Has very, very high potential. For me, I'm going to put it at the top of B tier. It doesn't quite eclipse into that zone here, and probably under Lanterns too, I'd say. Lanterns just has that effect of bringing back the whole Green Lantern brand. We've seen Blue Beetle in movies recently. It was a good movie, so it's kind of just going to be one of those things that I'm sure will be good, but it's just kind of going to exist for now. All right, next is Booster Gold. This one has been kind of radio silent since it's been announced. We haven't really got much information, but in general, a Booster Gold TV show, it goes in A tier. Just the concept alone. Booster Gold is probably up there, top 3 most popular DC superheroes without any live action appearances besides Smallville, and there's infinite potential for that. I think you could tie it in really well with the Blue Beetle show too if you have Ted Kord in both. I think Booster Gold definitely should lean into comedy too. I think the original rumors was they were getting Danny McBride and having like the Righteous Gemstones people do it, which I think would have been phenomenal going in that direction. But apparently that fell through now, so I don't know what they're doing. But if they are kind of still wanting to go into that kind of 30-minute, almost pseudo sitcom, I think that could be kind of really, really cool too. So yeah, A tier. Okay, next up is Paradise Lost, another show that we haven't heard much about. This is the first one here I'm just not feeling as much. James Gunn described it as kind of like Game of Thrones meets Wonder Woman and stuff like that. But I don't really have that much of an interest of a Themyscira, just like show pre-Wonder Woman or whatever. I think it would even be interesting if it had like a younger Wonder Woman in it, but like I don't know how many like episodes you could sustain of just like politics on Themyscira, right? I kind of just want to see a new Wonder Woman movie more than anything with a fresh actor, fresh storyline. So this is going to be in C tier, honestly. I can't really gather that much enthusiasm. If they get a really like star-studded cast, you know, a really like talented director and writer, of course it could turn around. There's plenty of movies and shows that come out of nowhere and surprise people, but especially with the fact we haven't heard much movement behind the scenes, I don't know if there's that much enthusiasm, not only within DC Studios, but just in general with like the people they reach out to hire for these projects. So yeah, it's going to be, unfortunately, the first one I put in C tier here. Okay, next up is Sergeant Rock, another super deep cut one I would not have guessed they would have done. But Sergeant Rock is a classic character who represents the entirety of that World War II era. We obviously saw him in Creature Commandos briefly. That was obviously made before they knew that they wanted to do a Sergeant Rock movie. And, of course, I mean, we have a massive director here, and we had some rumors about actors that were, like, circling the role. We had, like, the rumors about Colin Farrell wanting to be Sergeant Rock. There was Daniel Craig at one point. I don't think that one was ever true. And, yeah, there's this one, I think, especially if you went to integrate maybe the JSA into it too. I assume Spear of Destiny would be a huge plot point with all of that during World War II. Flesh out the timeline a lot more. This definitely would be very similar to Captain America the First Avenger in that kind of aspect of just filling out our kind of history of this universe and what we know, because Sergeant Rock's not going to be a character who's going to be in present day, you know, fighting with the Justice League or anything. So I think this best represents a lot of the just James Gunn wanting to do just solo really, really good movies rather than having something specifically connect. But I also could see them setting up the overarching villain of the DCU in the past and then just having this threat be, you know, around for a long time too. This is going to go in A tier above even, I mean, Clayface right now is more like it's happening, so we know more director writer. I still think this has a higher potential over it, so this is gonna go right under Woman of Tomorrow for me. Very, very excited for that. Next up is James Mangold's Swamp Thing. We haven't heard about this for quite a while. James Mangold recently did the Bob Dylan movie, so I assume this will be one of his next one or two projects here. This is, I think, in a similar vein of Clayface's. Like, this would be prime in like an October 2028 release or something, 2027 release if they can get it faster, of a really, really good lower budget Halloween type movie. Maybe do like kind of a buddy cop routine of him and John Constantine would be awesome. Of course, there's so many influences and a lot of famous Swamp Thing runs like Alan Moore or Scott Snyder's New 52 one. I know I've read a few issues from that. It's very, very good. And yeah, I think the gothic nature of it would just be really, really cool. Very different tone. I think it'd make up for the cancellation of the Swamp Thing TV show, which I know had a cult fan base. People really, really liked that show. And speaking of the costume for Swamp Thing, I think they probably would keep it decently similar to what the show looked like, because I think that show nailed it. For now, this is going to go in the top of B tier. James Mangold, I think, will do a great job. Next up is Teen Titans or Titans. We don't know exactly what it'll be yet. I assume it'll be the just standard roster from the 2003 cartoon. I don't think it'll have like Wonder Girl or Kid Flash or anything. I think it's basically going to be the 2003 roster with Beast Boy, Starfire, Raven, Robin, Cyborg, like that. I think is just it's a good lineup. I always prefer the original like Fab 5 or Fab 6 if you've read the more modern ones where they had Bumblebee in. I think that's my kind of Teen Titans roster that I have always liked. But the 2003 roster, in terms of wide appeal, everyone knows that. Everyone grew up either watching the 2003 show or Teen Titans Go. So there's definitely a lot to be done there. This, I think, is going to do a really good job of filling out the amount of heroes that are in this universe. Because, obviously, we're going to have Nightwing if in there somewhere. Robin probably separately. So we're already going to have several Batman sidekicks. Beast Boy, Raven, Starfire, they're usually in their own corner, but of course Raven's connected to Trigon. I definitely see them doing Trigon as the villain. That feels extremely obvious. Just as a villain for it, they did Trigon in Titans as well. And Titans, not the best show in the world. I think most people agree with that. Not very good. So this, I think, can redeem the Titans for sure. And yeah, I'm glad. Most likely Cyborg would probably be a Titans member in this rather than a Justice League member, which I've always preferred. I understand why they added him to the roster in the New 52, but for me, his home's always been on the Titans. So this is going to go in middle of B tier. I think over Blue Beetle, but under Lanterns. If the roster is exactly what I like, I think the hype would be better. But if it's just kind of the 2003 roster, it'd be right about here. All right, next is The Authority, another movie that we have not heard much about, much movement, much anything, really. Of course, we know the Engineer is going to show up in Superman here. Not sure how big her role is. I think she's mainly just going to be kind of like a goon for Lex Luthor. I don't really think she's going to have a major role in there. I don't even really know if they're ever going to mention The Authority in the movie beyond that. This was another curveball and one that I wasn't really excited about from the beginning. It's cool, but those characters, I think, like, you could do Midnight or Apollo, you could do a few of these, but I'm just kind of over the whole, like, dark and, like, flipping it on its head superhero stuff like The Boys and all that. Like, I like The Boys, but I just think at this point it's been a little overdone, and I feel like Authority would feel like it's, like, 5 years too late by the time it comes out. This shouldn't really impact my opinion that much, but it's a movie I cannot see doing well at all. A lot of people have speculated, oh, they should turn it into a show or like an animated movie. And I think an animated movie would really, really be cool. I think that would add a little bit more to it that could make it a little more interesting, I think. But of course, it always depends on the script. If James Gunn's passion project is doing The Authority and he writes and directs it, I'm sure he could do a fantastic movie. Yeah, this is gonna go in C tier, even under Paradise Lost. I just cannot muster hype for that movie, and it seems like it's been kind of in development hell at DC Studios as well. Next up, Brave and the Bold. I love this. I have always wanted Robin to show up in another Batman movie after, of course, Batman and Robin. I've never understood. I think Robin is essential to the character of Batman. I think you miss out. It is, so essential. It's like making a Superman movie and you don't have, like, a red cape. I genuinely think Robin is that important, where I think it's fine doing a movie like The Batman. Of course, we're going to get to Batman Part 2 here, but The Batman is a perfect, like, first movie in a universe, but I've had enough of year one Batman. I've had enough of no Bat family of anything when these characters are, like, so integral to the comics. Like, literally, if you pick up a Batman comic today, there's basically a 0% chance that there won't be any other Bat family characters. I mean, they are in everything. It seems like everything except for the movies, really. Characters like Nightwing have, like, been adapted one time ever in Titans. It's crazy to me with how popular these are. And this is going to be adapting the Grant Morrison run, which I read and I love all the way through. Specifically, the Son of Batman arc, with Damian Wayne coming in here. I think it's interesting with how young he depicts his Superman, that the Batman of this universe is already going to have a son. Obviously, Damian's only, like, 11, or 10 or 11 when he comes in, so it doesn't have to be that much of a gap. If Batman's only been Batman for 10 or 11 years, it's not that crazy, but still, I kind of thought they were going to start off with Tim Drake. Them doing Damian Wayne makes me think they're just going to completely skip Tim Drake, which is a controversial choice. Maybe I got to do a whole video on why Tim Drake has kind of become the forgotten Robin nowadays. But anyway, yeah, I assume Talia al Ghul and Ra's al Ghul will be the villains of this movie. I don't think they're going to keep the same characterization that Grant Morrison did for Talia. I don't think anyone liked that. So, yeah. Very, very, very exciting. Hope we get a ton of Bat Family members in here. And I also hope that Andy Muschietti does not end up directing this movie. I'm not a major hater of The Flash. I think it was actually decent, especially before the third act. I think there's a lot of good scenes in that movie. But I don't think he's the right fit for this movie, especially next to Matt Reeves for the Batman. I think it's just... I would... This is one I could see James Gunn kind of taking the reins of now. There's been rumors of writers and stuff, but we don't know for sure. This for me is top of A tier. Has the highest potential. It's going to be really cool to see them introduce Damian for a wide audience. Next up is Waller. This show was originally rumored to come out before Peacemaker Season 2. There was a lot of talk about it, like, even before Creature Commandos, of it just happening, being kind of a Peacemaker Season 1.5. Waller's a really good character. I'm very glad they kept Viola Davis. I think she's fantastic as Amanda Waller. If you were going to choose one person to carry over, just in kind of a bit part, and of course this would make her more of a main role, but Viola Davis is definitely the one to choose. I'm very curious what the through line of this show is going to be. Of course, there's the status quo that happens at the end of Peacemaker Season 1, so there's a lot you can do there, but I think it's probably going to end up with her recruiting and making a new Suicide Squad. It would be really cool if every episode maybe focused on a different member she goes and tries to recruit, and maybe you have, like, a B-plot of flashbacks of her, like, you know, getting in with Argus and, like, climbing up the ranks and all that would be really, really cool. I am not fully confident this show is going to happen anymore, which makes it hard to rank. It just seems weird to now happen after Peacemaker Season 2 is already out. Like, how much are you going to really do with it? But if it does happen, I'm going to put it at the bottom of B tier. It has a ton of potential, but I think for most people, a Amanda Waller TV show doesn't exactly inspire the most excitement. Honestly, I think I'm going to bump it down to C tier, especially with these coming up here. It kind of just exists. Next up, now getting into some slightly out of DCU stuff, even though there's still some copium. Maybe Matt Reeves and James Gunn will finally come to an agreement and integrate Robert Pattinson into the DCU. But we have The Batman Part 2. The script was just recently finished, literally like 2 days ago. Very, very, very exciting. I obviously found it super interesting in the teaser where they kind of hinted at duos, of course, because there's two writers, but it made me kind of think, oh, is Robin going to be in this? Because, of course, before the DCU was kind of announced and everything, I really wanted them to put Robin in the sequel to the Batman, and show like Dick Grayson, kind of the origin, maybe do like kind of a younger Robin, and I think we might get that here. I don't know though. They made it so that Oswald Cobblepot was renamed Oz Cobb because they thought it wasn't realistic enough. So maybe for the Matt Reeves universe, he just doesn't like that kind of stuff, even though I think Robin is so essential. But of course, I can divorce my feelings on having Robin in the Batman movies and say that this movie's going to be phenomenal. The first Batman movie is the second best Batman movie ever, I think, after Dark Knight still. It's so good. I mean, and then how good was the Penguin as well? It has a huge amount of potential. I think it's been funny. We've probably seen from all these like scooper accounts or whatever saying about every Batman villain that's ever existed is going to be the villain of this movie. I think the main one everyone's kind of wanted is Mr. Freeze, which would be really exciting. I think it'd be really cool if they adapted the kind of like Batman in the Animated Series arc or whatever. I originally thought they were going to do Golden Age Clayface, which they still could. But now with the Clayface movie, it's a little like, I mean, I don't think he's going to let like a different movie dictate what he does. We of course have the Barry Keoghan Joker in Arkham Asylum in the first movie. So that could be a thread that they pull on. Maybe Riddler will pop up again too. Two-Face, of course, could show up. I think it'd be cool if he just showed up as Harvey Dent. It's interesting that Penguin kind of opened up a role for a district attorney through the plot of that show. So definitely could see him in there. Yeah, extremely exciting. We've been waiting, it feels like, a trillion years for this, and it's finally moving along. Of course, I think this goes in S tier. I don't think you could find a DC fan right now that isn't that excited for this. All right, next up is Dynamic Duo. This one is a really curious one. We've heard that they've kind of been debating if they want this to be like canon to the DCU or not. I kind of hope they don't. It seems very Elseworlds of having Dick Grayson and Jason Todd being like co-Robins or whatever, and it's gonna have like puppetry and like CGI animation. This one's gonna be wild. I'm shocked how fast this kind of thing went into production, because this studio hasn't ever made like a theatrical movie before. They've done a lot of shorts and like commercial work. So this could be really, really cool. Very, very wacky choice. There was allegedly some concept art that leaked, but I believe that was fake. I believe that came out that was all fake. But Jason Todd being in it, I think, is really, really fun. We don't really see him much at all besides Titans again. So yeah, this is gonna go, I think bottom of A. I think it's gonna be really good. It's hard to tell when this kind of studio hasn't really done a like big movie yet. Next up, this is a smaller thing, but it's been confirmed we're going to be getting some crypto shorts coming out of Superman here, and apparently it's going to be based around like the different seasons or whatever, so they'll probably call it like crypto for all seasons to kind of wink and nod at the Superman comic. And I think this will just be a very just fun, lighthearted shorts, kind of similar to the We Are Groot shorts, him getting into shenanigans. I'm not sure if it's going to be like completely animated or if it's going to be like live action with the animated crypto, because it'd be fun to see David Cornsweet kind of pop up here, you know, throwing a frisbee around with him or something on the moon, of course. And I do wonder if they're gonna like maybe integrate Supergirl into it, because crypto's gonna have a very large role in Women of Tomorrow. And yeah, I think this will be a very fun project, probably mainly targeted towards kids. Probably just bottom of the B tier. It'll be good, but there's nothing like to get super, super excited about. All right, last here, this was just recently confirmed last week. It's the Mr. Miracle television show. It's going to be animated. It's going to be based on Tom King's run. Lots of Tom King in this universe, which people have mixed feelings about, but this is going to be great. I've always wished that they would do a New Gods, like, big budget movie, very heavily based on Jack Kirby's kind of stuff, but I think this is a really good way to, like, focus in on, like, him and Big Barda as characters, adapting a very, very well-liked run. Even people that don't like Tom King usually like Mr. Miracle and Supergirl and stuff. I think it's a great choice. Yeah, I think I'm going to put this at the top of B tier. Maybe right under Lanterns. I think it's going to be cool to see the New Gods, like, kind of side of the universe flesh out. Maybe we'll see, like, Darkseid or something. Yeah, so that'll do it for my list here. Pretty spread out. I don't really think there's any F tier stuff. Of course, this stuff I'm not super excited about, but I think, at least with Authority, which is my bottom ranked one here, Authority still can have a lot of potential. And of course, it's more of a curveball pick, which I also appreciate here. But let me know in the comments what you guys think. What projects do you guys hype for the most? I'm guessing I'm going to see a lot of the Batman Part 2. It seems like everyone is just really, really excited to see what Matt Reeves does for that movie. I'm still just starting out on this channel, so any feedback I would love to see in the comments, and stay tuned for the next one.